Hey guys, Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. Back again for another session of High Power University and our special series on the Girsan P35 High Power. And you're looking at what it has become in our journey to determine compatibility with BHSpringSolutions components, particularly and especially BH Advanced components for high power pistols. And to determine the suitability of the platform for BHSpringSolutions creating BH Masterpiece high powers from the Gersan platform. And you might accuse us of impostoring as a BH Masterpiece now, but all the gold stuff is kind of at the moment. This is a good way to pick out what is not original on the Girsan that we have here, and it covers most things that you see that have been gold plated. We're doing this because we just launched BH Gold at BHSpringSolutions.com. It's our in-house gold plating of certain BH Advanced components, and so. And it also makes it easy to see what's original or what's not on this particular Girsan. Anyway, everything is empty as we're going to be kind of handling this, but you'll notice we have put the SFS system on. It works, functions as normal, just as we would expect it to. The BHSpringSolutions BH Advanced target tactical trigger for high powers is just a fantastic match in the Girsan, and we'll just kind of show that to you here real quick. Nice decisive reset, and the extended slide stop, of course, works perfectly. Good reach of the thumb. Ambi mag catch is no problem, but like every mag catch on the Girsan, you will be making an adjustment so that the fit of the magazine is not quite mashed up against the bottom of the frame like it is. That did cause us some slide closing problems when we got to an empty magazine, slide locked back, put a loaded magazine in, and the magazine was just being held a little bit too high in the frame, and the breech was running into the back of the magazine at times. And we changed it on the original mag catch. I want to install that back in just a second, because I won't be filing down this mag catch. If I was going to use this for a defensive handgun or a carry handgun, I would, because I'd have the ambi mag catch on there. But we've already fitted the original, so we will be putting the original back in. A couple things of note that we have noticed since our last session, and these are kind of small, minor things, but the reason we did is, because we were playing with our gold stuff, and one of the things I picked up on, this is a gold-plated Browning extractor, and this is what we found is this, is if you take a look right back there, and I'm going to show you the total range of the extractor, and you can see it's not much, it's not normal. We have conflict with a traditional high power extractor right back here on the tail part, and we're overlapping the edge serration in the channel area there where the extractor spring lives. And so we decided to go and run and see what we can find out what that's about. There is a difference. And we have Girsan's extractor, and we'll go ahead and show that difference now. The Girsan extractor, when we measure it this way, we get 27.02. Then we grab a Browning extractor, and we're 27.38. So yeah, there is a dimensional difference, and that is the difference in where it's showing up. We're not replacing the Girsan extractor at this point. Frankly, we don't have a reason to. It is It checks dimensionally good. The hardness is checked good, and it has performed well. And so we will be putting the original Girsan extractor back in. If we were going to stay with this extractor, we'd need to take 2 to 3/10 of a millimeter off of the back dimension of the tail part right here in order so that would fit. Otherwise, it fits fine. Appears like it would function good. It passes our shake test without a problem. But we will be putting the Girsan extractor back in. That is a part that has performed just perfectly so far, and so this was this was more for the photo moment than anything else. So we'll be putting the Girsan extractor back in. We have one other subject to talk about, and I'm going to go ahead and replace out this ambi mag catch while I'm talking. The trigger pin, and that is the pin that goes through the frame right there. This is an interesting equation in the Girsan, and we're going to talk about this for just a second. We're kind of seeing something in the Girsan that we haven't seen before. And you see, we've got a little bit of margin in that magazine. We won't lock the breech to the back of the magazine closing with the magazine now fitted that way at the magazine release. And that is the original magazine release that we fitted there. Okay, back to this trigger pin. We have a difference in the Girsan, and I want to tell you now, this one here is a head scratcher, because you're gonna be thinking back, especially if you're a guy, think back to about 8th grade industrial arts class, and this would not have gotten you an A on your exam in that class, what I'm going to show you. Reason we're talking about this is because we did take the original trigger pin out. The original trigger pin is here. We took this out when we decided to test for compatibility with the BH Advanced trigger subassembly. And the original trigger pin looks like that. A little different design than what we've really ever seen before. And we reinstalled this pin, and it reinstalled loose in the frame. It didn't have any real tightness to it. And so, okay, well, that's kind of a short life pin. You know, you take it out once, you need to have a replacement. This is an important note for Girsan guys. If you don't have the replacement for your trigger pin, do not remove it. You need a replacement, because you won't have, if it's like ours, you won't have a tight enough return fit when you put this back in. And the reason is, as you're gonna see in a moment, this pin is actually smaller than the hole. The metal has been disturbed here to make some sort of diagonal grooves to create some tightness of the relationship with the frame. And it works once. After that, it doesn't work anymore. Here's where the problem is going to come in. And I'm going to be able to give you a diameter measurement of that hole because of the pin that we have reinstalled, and we'll be explaining that here in just a moment. But anyway, you can see the diameter measurement here of the pinhole right there. And I've measured it many times now. 3.15 is the measurement I just keep getting and getting and getting. Okay, how about Browning high power pinholes, Arcuses, all the other clones, I think, for that matter, pretty much. That dimension of that pinhole dances around 3.0 millimeters. And you know, it's got some funny characteristics to it that creates the tightness of the frame and with in relationship to the trigger pin. But without getting into all that, that's just right around 3.0 millimeters is where that hole runs. So, for example, a Browning trigger pin, 2.97, and the Browning trigger pins would run, you know, right around that. This is a BH self-tightening trigger pin that's actually modeled after the Browning trigger pin, but with some serrations up here. Those serrations go ahead and give us about a 3.05. That's the self-tightening. So if you think a normal high-power frame hole, 3.0, We've got some serrations on the self-tightening pin that takes it up to 3.03, 3.04, 3.05, so it's going to be larger, but the serrations are going to collapse and they've got a little bit of give, so they self-tighten. Okay, this pin falls right through the frame on a Girsan. So does a Browning high-power trigger pin. Neither one of these are going to help you as far as a replacement. If these trigger pins are available from Girsan, it would be good to have a small little box full. I think they probably do work competently for one time around. What we have put in the Girsan as a trigger pin, and this is now actually a new BH product, and it's for the Girsan, but it can be used with other high powers as well. That is a flush fitting specialty trigger pin, and it is the only replacement that we know of in the Girsan. And we happened to already have these standing by for this occasion because we had done a lot of testing, trying, researching different kinds of pin solutions for high power trigger pin holes, and this is one that that actually does work in all high powers. However, if you have a Browning or any of the clones that are dancing around that 3.0 millimeter diameter frame hole, this is going to be a tight going in first time. This is a groove pin, it's called, and I want to show it to you here. On one end, you've got these grooves that are then going to collapse to the extent that they need to in order to create a tight fit. Those grooves, as you can see, don't exist really on the other end of the pin. Now, here's where the comment about 8th grade industrial arts comes in, okay? Here is Girsan's trigger. And take a look at what I'm getting for a diameter on this. Is the trigger pin hole. This is the hole diameter of the Girsan trigger, and so now add this up. You've got a 3.15 hole. You need to have a pin that creates a tight relationship with that hole so it stays put. Your hole size in the frame is 3.15. Your diameter in your trigger is 3.10, and if you understand where we're going with this, you already have a conflict here in this picture, and this is the industrial arts. You don't pass this particular question if this, I think, is the strategy of going at this. So yeah, this becomes a head scratcher. So how do you make this work out? How did they make it work out? Let's take a look. Here is the Girsan trigger pin, and on this end we are 3.05. That's the end that's going to live right here in this side of the frame. Exactly, 3.05 in 3.15. You don't have tightness of that relationship, you have looseness of that relationship. However, you need to be down in this neighborhood around that. You see, now we get to the center, we're 3.07, and our trigger diameter is 3.10. So the trigger pin where this hole is having a relationship with the trigger pin's got to be smaller than 3.10. But the hole, again, in the frame is 3.15. So they got this small enough diameter of the pin in this area so the trigger would rotate on it well. You don't have any tightness in this side of the frame whatsoever at all. All of that was derived by trying to disturb the metal in too small of a pin in order to make it be tight, and it works for a second. The BH specialty trigger pin, this is going to go in sane. It's going to fit flush on both sides of the frame, which actually we think is kind of an aesthetic improvement. So you don't have a pin sticking out on either side of your handgun, which again, that's kind of a luxury that we've not really ever been able to enjoy before on high power. So from that extent, it's a nice little upgrade. But this was an interesting thing that we found, and they did not make this trigger pin question easy thing on themselves, frankly. I can think of some dimensional alternatives here that would have made this work out better for them and easier for them, and would have been a little bit more convincing engineering, I think. But we have the solution of BHSpringSolutions, BH Advanced trigger pin, I think it's an upgrade. Folks, thanks for watching. We're not finished with this Girsan. We have some very special sessions with this Girsan coming up here in the very, very near future. Thanks for watching this session. I'm Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC, BHSpringSolutions.com for High Power University and our special series on evaluation and testing of the Girsan MC P35 High Power.